I feel like we're missing something here. Okay, so there has been reports aplenty swirling around Raiderville from credible sources, ALLaBorde Raiders being one, about Mark Davis and his thoughts on who the coach should be next season. Now, if you saw the Davante Adams press conference, he has come out and said he wants it to be Antonio Pierce, shades of Rich Bisaccia with the locker room Max Crosby. And I would tell you this much, I think more people want Antonio Pierce on this team than the 2021 team wanted Rich Bisaccia, and that was probably still a lot of people. Jim Harbaugh just won a college football playoff game. He might win a national championship, although I got my money on Washington. And now he's entered the mix in the minds of Raider fans and Raider players and Raider media. And then there's this ALLaBorde Raiders report that says Mark Davis is looking to make a big splash, or I think his exact words were, take a big swing. And if the big swing doesn't work, then he'll go to Antonio Pierce. Initially, my mind thought, well, Jim Harbaugh is the big swing, right? I'm now starting to think, why would Jim Harbaugh be a big swing? A big swing implies that you might miss in terms of hiring, right? I don't think it would be a big swing to say we're going to go after Jim Harbaugh, because I think Jim Harbaugh wants to get back to the NFL and he wants to coach the Raiders. I mean, who wouldn't want this roster? It's a quarterback away and you get to make the decision on who that quarterback is. He's going to have a front row seat to Michael Penix. He knows J.J. McCarthy. He knows Caleb Williams. He knows all these college guys. So why would that be a big swing to sign Jim Harbaugh? It'd be a big name. It'd be a big get. But I don't think you're taking a big swing by pitching to Jim. Jim's pitching to you. I think, and the ALLaBorde Raiders report says as much, Mark Davis wants Jon Gruden back in the coach's chair for his third stint with the now Las Vegas Raiders. Before we get into the pros and the cons of Jon Gruden, the reason I think that is because what would be a bigger swing than to bring back the guy that brought us to the playoffs in the year 2000? Then we were knocking on the door of turning the whole ship around in 2021 when he got fired. Bring him back a third time? After the court case with the NFL, a middle finger to Roger Goodell, a triple down on Jon Gruden. You might lose some locker room guys, you might gain some. All I'm saying is, if you want to talk about the biggest possible swing, it's Jon Gruden. Before we continue, stop what you're doing right now, hit the like button, and comment. Do you think the reports about the big swing are referring to Jim Harbaugh or Jon Gruden? And would you want Jon Gruden to coach this football team? Also, while you're at it, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. You get early access, name at the end of the credits. You'll see those names at the end of this video. You get Madden Subscriber League, ad-free content, bonus content of me watching highlights of prospects and Raider games that I can't post on YouTube because of copyright issues, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I've laid my groundwork as to why I think it is Jon Gruden that he's talking about. Now, I'll talk about Antonio Pierce and Jim Harbaugh in separate videos, and then I'll whittle it down to who I think should be our next coach. Jon Gruden is not a great evaluator of talent in the first and second rounds. But after that, him and Mike Mayock did a pretty damn good job of constructing a roster of young, talented guys like Max Crosby, Amik Robertson, Nate Hobbs, Trayvon Merrick, Malcolm Kuntz, just to name a handful. He also took a team that was 6-10, traded Khalil Mack, reshuffled a bunch of people. We went 4-12, 7-9, 8-8, 10-7. And the 7 year he got fired, you would like to assume that we win more games than the 10, right? Especially if Henry Ruggs is still on the team. So there was a progression each time. And those other years that we finished 7-9, 8-8, we started out pretty good. We just fell apart at the end. Do I think Jon Gruden deserved to be fired? Absolutely not. Do I think Mark Davis would love to have him back if there would be no controversy around him? Absolutely. Do I want Jon Gruden to be the Raiders' next head coach? I don't, because I think there are better options out there. AP, Harbaugh, Ben Johnson. However, if you told me AP took another job, Harbaugh took another job, Ben Johnson's staying with the Lions, right? And now we're in this kind of limbo, this gray area of, well, we don't have the guys that we want. And Jon Gruden just falls into our lap and becomes our head coach again. I think there are worse options than that. As much as I did not like him initially, he proved to me with that last year in 2021, we started out 3-0. We had something there, and we were competing with the Chiefs when he was coaching the team. We went into Kansas City and beat them, and then we blew it at the end at home. We almost went 2-0 against the Chiefs in 2020, the COVID year. So as much as I don't want AP to not get this job or Jim Harbaugh to not get this job, Jon Gruden is not the worst of the options. And I do think this is the mystery head coaching candidate that has been lurking in the shadows this whole time. Would it be insane, and is it going to happen? Yes, it would be insane. No, it's probably not going to happen. But you cannot deny that there isn't another football team that is more equipped to do the most insane thing you've ever seen in terms of hiring a head coach. Would this not be the most Raider thing to do, to hire a coach that was let go or traded from their team for a third straight time? If Jon Gruden comes in, I don't think he will see this roster as he did in 2016, and I think he will keep it pretty much intact. Now, will he just bring in all the guys that he brought in before, like Gus Bradley and Paul Guenther? Would he keep Antonio Pierce? Would he keep Patrick Graham? There's a lot of moving parts with the Jon Gruden of it all. All I'll say is, don't expect it to happen, Raider Nation. But if it does, don't be surprised, and remember the first person to be talking about it. So to put a button on all this, I don't want it. But if it did happen, I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't think it's the absolute end of the world. Maybe don't give him a 10-year, $100 million deal. Maybe restructure it a little bit differently. And hopefully he sends some better emails and he won't get fired. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Again, join that Patreon, patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. Link is in the description below. Please be sure to subscribe. It is free after no charge to you. I love you, and I'll see you next time.